Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to Political Ray. I hope everybody's doing pretty good on this Thursday morning. I hope the day goes well for everybody, and welcome back. Just this is Political Ray. I'm live every morning, Monday through Friday, 7:30 Eastern Time. So tune in, check it out, give me a follow, give me a like. Appreciate you being here. We've got some stories for you. Namely, Trump has said that Harvard may lose its tax exemption status. Interesting. But the big story is Chris Van Hollen taking a trip over to El Salvador to potentially make his way. I think he's just grandstanding. Took a trip on the taxpayer dime in order to try and, what he says, bring back a Maryland father, which is not the case, but we'll get into it. And I also have to get into Marjorie Taylor Greene, which I was supposed to cover yesterday, but got short on time, ended up skipping it, but we'll try and get into that today. Just her being accused of maybe taking advantage of the stock market, as far as when it jumped up after President Trump put the 90-day pause on the tariffs. But we'll get into that. Hopefully, Tom Homan kicks back on the whole El Salvador trip that Chris Van Hollen did, and we'll get into that a little bit too. But the big story is him taking this trip to El Salvador in order to try and make his way into a meeting with the president of El Salvador. Didn't go over. I don't even think that he actually met with the vice president. I think he did talk to the vice president, but nothing came of it. When the president of El Salvador was over here and had a meeting with President Trump in the Oval Office, he told reporters at the time that this person was not going to be released. It makes no sense to release him. Even he's not going to release him into his own country for the U.S. to bring him back. He's not in the habit of releasing a terrorist organization, member into the wild and letting them have free will. It's not going to happen. But anyway, before I start on just a giant ramble, we'll go ahead and get into this here. And y'all can let me know what you think. Let's see. We'll go ahead and shrink myself down here, and we'll get going on this. Now, we'll start off with the tax exemption that Harvard may be facing from President Trump. He put out on a True Social, perhaps Harvard should lose its tax exempt status and be taxed as a political entity if it keeps pushing political, ideological, and terrorist-inspired / supporting sickness. Remember, let me get rid of myself here so I can actually read this and you guys can see it. Let's see. There we go. Let's see. Keep pushing political, ideological, and terrorist-inspired supporting sickness. Remember, tax-exempt status is totally contingent on acting in the public interest. Yeah. So, we've got that. Y'all can let me know what you think. I don't think that they look Harvard, Yale, Columbia, what have you. These major universities, they get billions of dollars, not just off of tuitions that they charge the students who go into debt for a big part of their lives and end up paying these loans back over the course of 10, 20, 30, 40 years. Depending on if they can even achieve a job right out of college to help them pay back enough to, limit the amount of, interest and what have you on these loans. I think college is a scam. And I say that being I have a 4-year degree. I think college is a scam. The only reason I have mine is because the GI Bill paid for the vast majority of mine. That being said, not a fan of these colleges, especially these indoctrination sites. That's what they are, and I'm not a fan of them. Now, even the school that I went to wasn't that big, but even where I went to, I saw a lot of the same stuff where the left-wing talking points are pushed on students, and it's an indoctrination camp. I mean, they push the left ideas onto these students. In a lot of cases, I mean, there's movies and everything else about this. If you're not siding with the professors and their left-wing ideology, then most likely you're going to fail the course. And then you got to take it over again, which equals more money. It's just a scam. I mean, what kind of high-paying job are you going to get with gender studies degree? It's an honest question, but anyway, I digress. I'm starting to ramble again. So, but anyway, I think that they should lose it. I don't think that they should get federal funding from the government, especially Harvard itself. Okay, has, what was it, $53 billion that comes in from donations and everything else. $53 billion. That's not taxed because they have a tax exemption status. Maybe it should be. Anyway, take a look at this. This is the article, and we'll take a look at this. Wait, I got rid of myself. There we go. Live show, everybody. Anyway, here we go. This is on Fox News. Just talking about the fact that Trump has brought this up. I think it should happen. That's just me. We'll take a look at this clip. This is Fox News talking about it. We'll take a look.
The Trump Justice Department and the administration has asked
the Internal Revenue
Service
to
revoke.
It's a little quiet, but we'll take a look.
The Trump Justice Department and the administration has asked the Internal Revenue Service to revoke Harvard University's tax-exempt status. This comes after President Trump suggested that move on Truth Social earlier in this week, that Harvard should lose its tax-exempt status. The move could cost the Ivy League institution billions of dollars. The Trump administration has already halted more than $2 billion in federal grants to the university over what the White House says was a failure to address anti-Semitism on campus. The Trump Justice Department. Again,
I'm fine with it. Like I said, the endowments that Harvard, $53 billion in endowments. That's not taxed. Why are they exempt to it? Look, these universities, they're not doing anything, and this stems from the fact that there's been anti-Semitism, riots. They're not protests in most cases. Now, I'll give credit where credit's due. There have been protests, but a majority of these have been turned into violent activist, rallies, taking over libraries. The Mahmoud Khalil that whole thing going on. I mean, it's got to stop. You can't be terrorizing a certain, demographic of students, namely the Jewish students who are going to these schools. It's not right to have them be. I mean, they couldn't go into the libraries. They were getting kept out of classes and what have you. And if you're not going to be fair to every student that goes there, I don't think that they should have tax exempt in the first place. But that's just my opinion. It shouldn't be a thing. Like I said before, $53 billion in endowments, that's not taxed. Plus, on top of that, you've got the student tuitions and everything else going into this. I think they should lose it. This is my opinion. They make enough money between the tuition and the endowments and everything else. They make enough money. They don't need federal funding, and they don't need tax exempt status. Anyway, we'll go ahead and move on to look. This story is just flying around everywhere right now. This Kilmar Abrego Garcia, who has been, it's been two different judges at this point have said that he's MS-13. He was actually caught and arrested having a meeting with MS-13 members. ICE has said he's an MS-13 member. Tom Hollen said he's an MS-13 member. Everyone except for the mainstream media says that this guy's an MS-13 member. My opinion, I would tend to believe ICE, two different judges on two different occasions. The guy has a deportation order. Now, he did have a stay, but that's negated when you're actually a part of a foreign domestic terrorist group. So that doesn't come into play when he's actually part of this gang. Anyway, so we'll take a look at this. This is from the Post Millennial. Revealed Kilmar Abrego Garcia, arrested in 2019 while meeting with MS-13 members, entered U.S. illegally in 2012. Now, I thought he came in 11. I guess I was probably wrong on that, but we'll take a look at this article. Kilmar Garcia, a confirmed member of the violent MS-13 street gang, was arrested on March 28th of 19 during a meeting with several high-level MS-13 members in Hyattsville, Maryland, despite repeated claims by Democrats that he had no gang affiliation. Look, the guy's got tattoos. ICE has verified that he's a MS-13 member. Two different judges on two separate occasions verified that he was part of this gang. Tom Hollen said that, look, there's no doubt in our mind He's an MS-13 member. This guy is not going to come back, and he should not come back. You can make the argument that he has a child now, and he's whatever. I don't want people like this roaming the streets where my children are roaming around and other kids are roaming around. The fact that this senator went to El Salvador to try and bring back a gang member who President Trump has declared a foreign terrorist group, if this does not make your blood boil, I don't know what will, because this guy, he's had 2 separate killings in his state of Maryland by illegals that were horrific, and we'll get into that too, but we'll finish this article first. According to the Prince George's County Police Gang Unit, Abrego Garcia is a member of MS-13's Western Clique, holding the rank of Chico. I don't know what that means, but with the moniker Chile. This designation was confirmed by a confidential source that the DOJ says has a history of providing reliable information. Officers observed him wearing gang-affiliated clothing, including a Chicago Bulls hat and a hoodie depicting the gang's see no evil, hear no evil, see no evil motive. Okay. We are releasing additional information on Kilmar Abrego Garcia. This was from Pam Bondi, who I still think should spend less time on Fox News and more time just doing her job, but that's anyway. He was arrested along with other known MS-13 gang members, including Cristia Hernandez Romero, Bimbo, and Jose Guillermo Dominiquez. I'm sorry, I butcher these names, but anyway, both of whom sported gang tattoos linked to leadership roles. The arrest stemmed from an investigation into gang-related activity and followed surveillance by the Hyattsville Police Department. Look, again, I will just say, there's all kinds of evidence coming out about this guy, just saying that he actually was a part of this MS-13 gang. I mean, the fact that people are still actively wanting this guy back within the United States is just beyond me. Anyway, before I start rambling again, we'll continue with this. Garcia later admitted to being an illegal alien from El Salvador, having entered the U.S. near McLean, Texas, in 2012. ICE determined he had no legal documentation and was subject to removal under federal immigration law. Now, despite the fact that he has been cited several times at this point, being a part of this MS-13 gang, he was still here illegally. He is a naturalized citizen of El Salvador. And people saying that this guy needs to come home to Maryland, it's an incorrect statement, because we've already sent him home to El Salvador, where he actually is a citizen of. He's not an American citizen. He's not a Maryland man. He's from El Salvador. All the Trump admin and ICE and Tom Homan, they just sent him home, where he is actually from. You come into the country illegally, that's breaking the first law right there. Anyway, let's see. In April of 2019, an immigration judge denied his request for release on bond, citing danger to the community and a flight risk. The correspondent did not demonstrate to the satisfaction of the immigration judge that his release would not pose a danger to property or persons, based on evidence presented, including a validated gang field interview sheet from the Prince George County Police Department and testimony from a proven confidential source. The court finds that the respondent is a verified member of Mara MS-13, holding the rank of Chiku with the Western Clique. The respondent's appearance, associations, and behavior are consistent with known gang identifiers. Furthermore, he admitted to entering the United States illegally and has failed to present sufficient mitigating factors such as community ties or lack of danger that would justify bond. Accordingly, the request for release is denied. This is from the courts. This is just one of the judges who found this guy to be a part of this gang. On appeal, the Board of Immigration Appeals upheld the ruling, dismissing arguments that his gang ties were unsubstantiable. again, like I said, let's see. This looks like the documentation for the court, and I think that's it. So, again, I would just stress the guy was found on numerous occasions by two different judges saying that he is a verified member of this gang. He was ICE verified that he's a part of this gang. The evidence is stacking up against the left-wing narrative that they're not going to let go. They're going to keep this narrative going that he is a Maryland father and that he needs to come home. But he's already been sent home. He's got sent back to El Salvador, where he's actually from. He's not a legal resident of the United States. That's it. And another interesting tidbit about this is the guy was his wife, who he does have a child with, and two stepchildren. Apparently, there's an article out there. I didn't put it in here. You can go look it up if you want. But she had a restraining order on this guy for domestic abuse. He's not a good person. He's part of this gang, and I don't want him in our communities. I don't want anyone like this in our communities where our children play, and I want our children to walk down the streets without fear of someone like this in our communities. You can let me know if you disagree, but I don't want these people in the U.S. But now Chris Van Hollen is getting all kinds of blowback because he decided that he was going to go to El Salvador and try and have a meeting because he didn't get it when the president of El Salvador was here in the United States having a meeting with President Trump. Now, this guy is getting all kinds of blowback for this, and rightfully so, because there's all kinds of problems within his state that he's not worried about, namely a couple of horrendous killings by illegal immigrants, one from El Salvador. Maybe the other one is, I'm not 100% sure, but I know for a fact that one of them is at least from El Salvador. But he's going to go here and try and bring back a gang member, a violent member of this gang. Again, I will just stress the fact, if you are advocating for this type of people to stay within the United States, you've got bigger problems. I don't know what to tell you. These people are evil and should not be here walking among us and our children. Anyway, take a look at this clip. This is him after he landed and tried to get a meeting with the president. I believe he did talk with the vice president of El Salvador, but take a look.
Well, I'm asking President Bukele to, okay, I'm asking President Bukele, under his authority as president of El Salvador, to do the right thing and allow Mr. Abrego Garcia to walk out of a prison, a man who's charged with no crime, convicted of no crime.
He has been charged with a couple of different crimes. He's already been before two different judges. The guy has a criminal history.
And who was illegally abducted from the United States.
He was not illegally abducted. This is another narrative that they're pushing. He was not illegally abducted from the United States. He was picked up by ICE and deported because he's in the United States illegally. Being a part of the MS-13 gang, which has been classified as a foreign terrorist group, they have the authority to supersede this, whatever is maybe going on at the time. They have the authority to supersede any kind of hearing or anything like that and just deport him. Anyway.
Well, I'm
So, let's see. I want to show you this because this is, like I said, if this does not infuriate you and just ignite the fires within you, you've got other problems. I don't know what to tell you. But this is why this infuriates me so much, because you've got this guy, an American senator, who has, by the way, no right to go over by himself without any kind of authority from the executive branch to go over and try and request a meeting with the president of El Salvador to try and bring back an illegal immigrant back to Maryland. He's got no authority to do this. And the fact that he's got other problems within his state, namely illegal aliens brutally doing heinous things to his citizens within Maryland and does not care about them, He cares more about this illegal gang member than he does his own constituents. This person who isn't illegal is not even one of his constituents, but he's going along with the left-wing propaganda and trying to bring this guy back to the United States. Again, I will say, if this doesn't make you just irate and furious, then I don't know what to tell you. Take a look at this. This is from Newsmax. This is Patricia Morin, who her daughter Rachel was brutally, horrendously killed by an El Salvadorian nationalist, resident, whatever you want to call him. He was here illegally. Anyway, Patricia Morin, the mother of late Rachel Morin, who was murdered by an illegal immigrant, cannot understand why federal lawmakers who represent Maryland are trying to return an alleged MS-13 gang member who was deported. I don't understand it either. It does not make sense. This guy why he would care more about somebody who's an illegal alien, gang member, cares more about them than he does his own constituents. It's beyond me. Other than the fact that he's just going along with the narrative and he's grandstanding, he wants to make himself known. Because I guarantee you, because I can tell you right now, I didn't hear this guy. I don't live in Maryland, so I didn't know who this guy was from Adam. And I'm sure that a lot of people didn't know who he was either. But here he is on the national stage now, making waves, because he decided to use taxpayer dollars to fly to El Salvador to bring back a violent gang member who's not even a legal resident. Anyway, rambling on again, but after the murder, nobody from the Biden administration reached out to her family. She told Newsmax, Wake Up America on Wednesday. Not even our senator, who is promoting this thing about going to El Salvador to rescue a criminal, and have nothing to do with Maryland citizens or protecting American citizens, Morin said. They're protecting a criminal. Yes. Garcia has no criminal record and has never been charged with a crime in the U.S. or El Salvador, according to CBS report and other media sources. Well, he's broke one law for sure. He came into this country illegally. That's breaking the law. Senator Chris Van Hollen said Monday he is prepared to travel to El Salvador if deported former Maryland resident. He's not a Maryland resident. He is an illegal alien within the United States. But this is the narrative that they go with. Kilmar Abrego Garcia is not returned to the United States, Van Hollen said. He is officially requesting a meeting with Salvadorian President Bukele, who was in the United States meeting with President Trump. We all saw that. Garcia was deported in what some in the Justice Department has said was a mistake based on court rulings about the man's presence in the country. The Supreme Court ruled the Trump administration must facilitate Garcia's return to the U.S. Now, there's people going around that, there was a Supreme Court ruling that this person should be returned, but the deed's already done. President Bukele has already said that he's not going to smuggle a terrorist back into the United States. He's not going to release them. He's not going to release him into El Salvador onto those streets for him to disappear in the hopes that U.S. can pick him up and bring him back. It's not going to happen. I don't want him here. Anybody else shouldn't want him here. Rachel Morin was a 37-year-old mother of 5 out for a jog in Maryland in August of 23 when she was kidnapped and murdered by Victor Antonio Martinez Hernandez, an illegal immigrant from El Salvador with ties to the MS-13 gang. Again, these people are evil. And the fact that people are defending and wanting these people to stay within the United States is beyond me. If you're someone who's defending these, you are not a good person. That's it. Morin said that Garcia's case has nothing to do with her daughters, but it could impact someone else's daughter, especially since they have proven that he's an MS-13 gang member and that he's related to that gang. It's already been stated, as I said before, look, 2 different judges, ICE, he's been declared a member of the MS-13. He was caught having meetings with MS-13 high-ranking members. I don't want him here. Neither should anybody else. NBC News reported that the federal judge presiding over the case seeking Garcia's return to the U.S. said the gang membership charge came from a singular, unsubstantiated allegation. Incorrect. Like I said, he was caught with MS-13 gang members, 2 separate judges, ICE. They've all deemed this guy to be a part of MS-13 gang. They're a very violent gang, she said. They do these kinds of crimes all the time. So why are you doing everything you can to rescue an illegal immigrant? Why aren't you doing more to clean up your own streets? That's my question that I pose to Mr. Hollen. Instead of worrying about an MS-13 gang member that was deported, whether what you believe or not, the guy was here illegally. That's it. He can be deported. And they sent him back to where he is an actual resident of, which is El Salvador. He's not a Maryland resident. He's not a U.S. resident, not a U.S. citizen. He got sent back to where he was from. That's it. Anyway, he's committed a federal crime by being here. And then you're protecting someone that's a known gang member, and the gang is known for violence and a whole bunch of other crimes. You're promoting and using that person as this is our standard. This is what we stand for. It's a very loud message that they do not care about people in Maryland, their constituents. They do not care about the American people. I agree. This is the statement she joined the White House. I'm not going to play the clip because I watched it, and she describes what happened to her daughter, and it was just, it made my blood boil. And anybody who watches it and it doesn't make your blood boil, you've got problems. I'm not going to play it because, like I said, she goes into graphic detail on what happened to her daughter. And I think rightfully so, because people need to understand what these people are actually capable of and why they need to be deported and why they shouldn't be walking among our children's in our communities in the streets of America. It should not be a thing. Anyway, let's see. The only thing they care about is whatever their left policies are, and they are so out of touch with the American people. Completely agree. When the jury returned a guilty verdict against Hernandez this week, Morin said that she was relieved. The members saw how brutal her daughter's murder was. It was horrific. Again, if you don't have a good stomach or what have you, because she goes into very, very detailed, about what exactly happened to her daughter on that night or that day. It's horrific. If you want to go watch it, I encourage you to. If you want to know the full context, watch her at she was invited to the White House. She gave her statement. I think she volunteered to be there because of everything that was going on. She volunteered to be there to tell the story of how her daughter was taken from her by this savage illegal who had ties to MS-13. It highlights what they're capable of, and they shouldn't be here. So I give her props for being there. I can't imagine it was easy. I would lose my crap if anything happened to one of my kids. I give her a lot of credit for doing what she did. It couldn't have been easy. Let's see. I don't want to say I was happy because I was feeling so sad and so angry that my daughter had died so brutally. So brutal, but at the same time, I was so relieved that they saw the violence that this man had committed against my daughter and that it was irrefutable evidence, she said. It was like layer upon layer upon layer to get this conviction so we could finally have, in some respect, an end to this. It's been a long and just a nightmare that you just carry, and you keep carrying it because there's no end to it. Now, look, this woman who was killed, her daughter, Rachel, she had 5 kids, and now those kids are orphaned. Again, like I said, if it doesn't make your blood boil, I don't know what to tell you. It's a horrific story, and it shouldn't be happening to American citizens. Anyway, take a look at this one. This is from Fox News. This is not a Maryland man. GOP blasts Democratic senator for fighting to return Salvadorian national. This is, again, he's a citizen of El Salvador. All we did was send him back to where he's from. That's it. Anyway, From Fox News, Maryland Democratic Senator Chris Van Hollen drew wide rebuke for his sudden trip to El Salvador, during which he hopes to bring back deported Salvadorian Kilmore Abrego Garcia. Garcia is currently imprisoned in the Central America country, and President Bukele indicated it would be preposterous to try and send him back to the U.S. Yes, it would be. Van Hollen has made waves Wednesday morning when he posted a selfie video before flying to San Salvador. Salvador. I apologize. And calling it the goal of his mission to let both country governments know he won't stop fighting until Garcia returns to Maryland. This guy is actively fighting to bring back an MS-13 gang member back to the United States, when he should be worried about the horrific violent crimes that are happening within his state now. Representative Andy Harris, the lone Republican in the Old Line States delegation, slammed Van Hollen and contrasted the situation with Rachel Morin, who was murdered by an illegal immigrant found guilty Monday in Bel Air. This is insane. Let's take a look at what he says. Maybe. There it goes. Oh, we got to add. Maybe it won't be too bad. Come on. Well, maybe we'll just skip it. Yeah, it's still got 15 seconds. We'll just move on. We'll read what he said. The most striking double standard is that Rachel Morin, who was a constituent of mine, was brutally murdered by an illegal alien from El Salvador, Harris said. And Chris Van Hollen is not spending much time on that issue, but he is taking the time to go to El Salvador to bring back a citizen of El Salvador to the United States who had entered the country illegally, and which an immigration court found evidence that he was an MS-13 gang member. Let's take a look. Looks like it's on now, so I'll just rewind it just a little bit here and unmute it.
The Defense Department thinks the left is all in on Kilmore Abrego Garcia. He's the Salvadorian national deported to El Salvador and placed in the country's notorious CCOT prison. CCOT is the Spanish acronym that stands for Center for Terrorism Confinement. Both the U.S. and Salvadorian governments believe that Abrego Garcia is a member of MS-13 and an overall bad guy. But for Democrats and the liberal media, he's better known as the Maryland father, wrongly deported, wrongly detained. And because the Trump administration won't bring him back, Maryland Democratic Senator Chris Van Hollen says he'll go to El Salvador and fight for Abrego Garcia's return. Common sense wonders why Van Hollen is fighting for the Maryland father and not the Maryland mother. That would be Rachel Morin, mother of 5, raped and murdered by an illegal immigrant, killed by...
Okay, we'll move on because... let's see. Where was I? Van Hollen did release a print statement after Morin's killer was convicted, saying he was grateful to law enforcement and calling for meaningful action to reform our broken immigration system. Okay. What are you doing other than flying to El Salvador to bring back an illegal alien? It's beyond me. We can do this while also supporting our immigration communities and respect the rights of individuals who are here legally. But the guy wasn't here legally. That's the whole point of this. The guy wasn't here legally, but yet you're still going to El Salvador to try and bring him back. I am committed to doing both, and I will continue pressing my colleagues on both sides of the aisle to move forward on this issue, Van Hollen said. Look, let's take a look at this clip. This is going to debunk a lot of stuff here. Take a look. I think I watched this before. I think. I'm not sure. Never mind. Stupid ads. Oh, good old Fox News. White House Communications Director Stephen Chung mocked Van Hollen and his bedwetting friends for showing more concern and sympathy for an illegal MS-13 gang member than victims of horrific migrant crimes. Yes, and he should be berated. There's no reason why this shot guy should be going to El Salvador to bring back an illegal alien when he's got bigger problems within his own state. Van Hollen previously had a mixed voting record on the illegal immigration issue. He voted against the Laken Riley Act. I forgot to bring that up. That's very good. Laken Riley, everybody knows that story. Killed by an illegal alien. Within the United States. This guy voted against it. And let me just put this here. Laken Riley Act, okay? Just for anybody, just in case somebody out there does not understand, the bill requires Department of Homeland Security to detain certain non-U.S. nationals, aliens under federal law, who have been arrested for burglary, theft, larceny, or shoplifting. The bill also authorizes states to sue the federal government for decisions or alleged failures related to immigration enforcement. Under this bill, DHS must detain an individual who, 1, is unlawfully present in the United States or did not possess the necessary documents when applying for admission, and 2, has been charged with, arrested for, convicted for, or admits to having committed acts that constitute the essential elements of burglary, theft, larceny, or shoplifting. Again, like I said, the Laken Riley Act was put into place in order to prevent killings like Laken Riley from happening. They should not be happening. The Laken Riley Act was put into place because the illegal alien who killed Laken Riley, was an illegal alien who was released from jail for he had done a previous crime, and then he was just let back into the community, and then ended up committing another horrific crime. He shouldn't have been let out. Like I said, for one, he was here illegally. It shouldn't have happened. But anyway, this guy voted against it. He does not care about his constituents. A lot of these left-wing politicians, Democrats, they don't care about their constituents. They talk a big game, but when it comes down to it, they want these horrific criminals within our country. And it's not right. This guy's just proving the point. But anyway, rambling again. Let's see. Shame on President Trump for tearing apart hardworking immigrant families. We should be focused on MS-13, not scholarship winners, he said. What is he even talking about? Harris said efforts to Garcia, Maryland, also the gentleman has already been back to he's been sent back to El Salvador, the country of his citizenship where he belongs. Yes, that's where he's from. He's not a U.S. citizen. He just got sent home. That's it. In fact, was a Maryland woman. Rachel Morin was, in fact, a Maryland woman. This gentleman is not a Maryland man, he said, in reference to how Garcia has been described in the press. We should probably worry about our own citizen before we worry about citizens from other countries. 100%. Yes. Harris also laminated expending taxpayer funds for the trip. I pointed that out too. He took this trip to try and bring back an illegal alien, a criminal, gang member, used taxpayer dollars to fly to El Salvador to try and bring this person back. Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene, Georgia, took criticisms a step further, suggesting Van Hollen may be flirting with treason and saying Garcia is already home in El Salvador. Yeah, there's a lot of talk going around on X and the internet saying that, excuse me, this is actually in violation of the Logan Act. There's a lot of that going around. I could see it, possibly. And then if for anybody that doesn't know, the Logan Act just simply says that any U.S. citizen, it prevents them from engaging in talks, communications, what's the word I'm looking for? Negotiations. It prevents U.S. citizens from negotiating with foreign powers without the express authorization from the U.S. government. That's pretty much the Logan Act. So there's been a lot of talk about that and how this may be a violation of that. I could see it. I'm not sure. I'm not a lawyer. But I could see how the argument could be made. Anyway, the Department of Homeland Security also cited Morin's murder in their rebuke of Van Hollen, claiming he has done more to bring an MS-13 gang member, human trafficker, and illegal alien back to Maryland than he has to advocate for victims of gang violence. I would agree with that statement. 100%. Van Hollen's stance did not receive one prominent Maryland defender with Governor Wes Moore, telling Fox News Digital, We can be pro-public safety and pro-Constitution at the same time. We support Senator Chris Van Hollen's effort to check in on his health and safety and bring peace of mind to Kilmar's family in Maryland, his wife, their 5-year-old child, and his 2 stepchildren, who are U.S. citizens. Despite the unanimous Supreme Court decision, Trump is refusing to return Kilmar and is now even threatening to deport U.S. citizens to El Salvador. He's toying with the idea. Like, he came out and he said, look, it may be an option to send people who are guilty of just horrific crimes, to send them to this prison. I would say I don't agree with it. I mean, U.S. citizens are different from people who are in this country illegally. I don't think that an American citizen, even if they're found guilty of a horrific crime, should be sent to a foreign prison. I'm not okay with that. And I will say that outright. I don't think that should be a thing. That's what I think, though. But I think that's about it for that. Look, this Van Hollen guy, not a fan. Tom Homan put his 2 cents in on this, and he was on Fox News talking about it. Let's take a look at what he said. Y'all let me know what you think. I think the guy's back home, and we shouldn't have to worry about it anymore. But the left-wing media just will not let it go. But take a look at what Tom says.
You mean Chris Van Hollen, the guy that didn't want to sign the Lake and Riley Act?
Yes.
That protects American citizens against illegal alien criminal gang members? Who, instead of protecting Americans, his constituents, his taxpayers, he goes to El Salvador and defends an illegal alien with a deportation order that's a member of MS-13 that's been designated a terrorist organization by President Trump. That's where he went to defend it. It's just disgusting. The same senator whose state yesterday released an illegal alien charged with murder, refused the ICE detainer, hit the street. So rather than protecting his community, protecting the residents of Maryland, he goes to El Salvador to coddle an MS-13 gang member terrorist. It's ridiculous. And also, I talked to an MS-13 expert today who also showed me pictures of his hand, where he says absolutely the tattoo on one of his hands was absolutely an MS-13 gang tattoo, nothing questionable about it. 2 judges said he's an MS-13 member. ICE says he's an MS-13 member. Intelligence community says he's an MS-13 member.
There you go. I mean, you could say, oh, Tom Homan, I don't believe that guy. I do. Tom Homan don't mess around. The guy's legit. Okay? He does not mess around. He says something, I'm apt to believe it. I'm apt to believe what he says, because I haven't been able to disprove anything else that he said. I tend to believe what the guy says, and he don't mess around. I mean, just look at the hearing that he had between him and AOC, and he made her look like a fool. The guy does not play around. I tend to believe what he says. Anyway, he just said, 2 different judges, ICE, intelligence community, all have said that this guy is a member of MS-13. I tend to believe him over the mainstream left-wing propaganda that's getting pushed out. You can tell me I'm wrong, but I'm just saying, I would tend to believe this guy over the left-wing propaganda, the mainstream media, and their narrative that they keep pushing out, because they're not going to change it. They're going to keep pushing this narrative because it's the only thing they got. They cannot give Trump any kind of win.
El Salvador says he's an MS-13 member. So, it's just ridiculous. And as far as all the people who are speaking out against this, I cannot believe for a minute there's that many stupid people in the world. Now, AOC, on the smart meter, she's a 0. We'll give them that. But I can't believe these people really believe what they're saying. They got to be just pushing the narrative for political reasons. They can't be that dumb to think that that this person is an MS-13 gang member and a public safety threat.
Again, I will just stress the fact that I do not want known gang members walking in our communities, walking down the streets, the same streets that our kids are walking in. I don't want them here. I want my kids to be able to walk down the street. I want anyone to walk down the street in safety. not having to worry about an illegal gang member jumping out from behind a tree, a bush, what have you, and committing a horrific crime against them. You can call me insensitive if you want, but I don't think I am. I don't want these people here. I want us to be able to walk through our communities with safety. But anyway, we'll go ahead and move on. I spent a bit of time on that. I rambled a bit, but I do that. I tend to do that. We will move on to Marjorie Taylor Greene. Now, I was going to get to this yesterday. I ran short on time, but I'm starting to run a little bit short now. But we'll get into it just a little bit, and I will talk about this. This is the stock market, okay? This story's been going around now. Marjorie Taylor Greene profited off of stock market by buying thousands of stocks right before Trump's tariff pause. This is from Yahoo Finance. It's not a secret that President Trump put out on Truth Social. Now's a great time to buy. However he phrased it, I don't remember exactly the words, but he told people, look, it's a great time to buy. The market's down. It will come back. That's how the stock market works. It goes down, it comes back up, it goes down. That's how it works. Sometimes you get major gains, sometimes you don't. Anyway, unless you're Nancy Pelosi and making the laws and what have you, the stock market is a risk. Unless you're Nancy, then you never take a risk. You just buy thousands of stocks, and then your stocks just go way up. But nobody's talking about investigating her. But I digress. Anyway, Georgia Rep. Marjorie Taylor Greene is facing scrutiny for her latest financial investments. The Republican Congresswoman bought tens of thousands of dollars in stock from various high-profile companies just before President Donald Trump announced a 90-day pause on his international tariffs and sent the market soaring. Again, I will stress the fact that President Trump put out on his social media, on Truth Social, now's a good time to buy. If you didn't take advantage of his words of wisdom, at least he'd let us know. Nancy Pelosi never did. She just bought it behind everybody's back and then made the laws to make the stock goes up. This is anecdotal. This is just my opinion, but I'm pretty sure I don't think, it's my opinion, that anybody, left, right, middle, center, I don't care, anybody that is within Congress should not be allowed to invest in the stock market. That's how I feel, because they make the laws that can make or break these companies. They should not be allowed to buy stock. They should not be able to play the stock market. They shouldn't. They have too much influence and too much sway to divest and invest in the stock market, and then they make the laws that will make or break these companies. I don't think that they should have access to the stock market. That's my opinion. Anyway, let's see. A recent financial disclosure revealed that Greene bought between $21,000 and $315,000 in stocks from companies like Apple, FedEx, Amazon, and Nike on April 8th and 9th. At the time, the market was in free fall following Trump's April 2nd Liberation Day speech, in which he announced reciprocal tariffs on 60 countries and territories around the world. Again, the guy put out on Truth Social that it was a good time to buy right before he put the pause on there. So if you didn't take his advice, that's on you. I didn't buy any. I've been buying some stocks here and there, but I saw his little post. I didn't buy any stocks. Kind of wish I would have, but I didn't. Anyway, on April 9th, hours before announcing the 3-month pause, Trump posted to his Truth Social account, "This is a great time to buy." There you go. He lets you know that it was a good time to buy. Marjorie Taylor Greene, all she did was take advantage of his words of wisdom, as it were. That's it. Again, I will stress, I don't think that people within Congress should be buying stocks. That being said, okay, Nancy Pelosi does it all the time. Nobody gets on to her about it. Hinting at a market rebound, the subsequent tariff pause led to S&P 500 to jump 9.5% and the NASDAQ to rise 12.2%, the biggest single-day gains for both in more than 15 years. In a statement to the Associated Press about her recent stock purchases, Greene said, "I have signed a fiduciary agreement to allow my financial advisor to control my investments. All of my investments are reported with full transparency." I would believe that just because this story's out there, so people actually know about it. Members of Congress have up to 45 days to disclose stock purchases, meaning Green might not be the only one to have taken advantage of the tariff-induced fluctuation. Look, again, I'm not for people in Congress buying stocks. But there's people that have dedicated X pages, Twitter pages, Facebook pages who simply follow what stocks that Nancy Pelosi is buying because she doesn't ever fail on whatever she buys. It always increases her net worth. Maybe I should follow it. But anyway. Speaking with reporters on April 9th, Trump shared his reasoning for the announcing the tariff pause. I thought that people were jumping a little bit out of line. They were getting a little bit yippy, a little bit afraid, he said. We've got a big job to do, the president continued. No other presidents would have done what I did. No others. I know the presidents, they wouldn't have done it. I would tend to agree with that. Look, President Trump, I think that the tariffs do a couple of things. One, you're already seeing manufacturing jobs coming back to the United States. You've got Honda that is going to be making their Honda Civics specifically in Indiana now. You've got NVIDIA, who has put a $500 billion investment into making chips and computer parts in Texas. You've got Apple, who made a major investment. I forget the dollar amount of it, but they're making manufacturing here in the United States. You can harp all you want on manufacturing jobs, but they're still jobs. And there's nothing wrong with working a job. It doesn't matter what job it is. There's nothing wrong with making money. And if it brings American manufacturing jobs back to the United States, I'm all for it. Anyway, let's see. Did I get rid of it? Here we go. Let's see. Politicians on both sides of the aisle have long tried to ban members of Congress from being able to trade stocks given the conflict of interest. However, it's so far been unsuccessful. Again, excuse me, I don't want people in Congress to be able to play the stock market. They have too much influence and too much sway. That's just my opinion. Let's see, where am I at? Let's go ahead and I'm going to go ahead and I've made my 2 cents on that. I'm just going to go ahead and we'll talk about this. This from the Pulse Millennial. This is Home Alone 2 director calls Trump cameo in film a curse. It's a film from the 90s. Let it go. It's like this would be the same thing as the guy who directed The Apprentice saying, "Oh, I shouldn't have done it." Who cares? It's an old movie. There's been calls for this guy for I don't know anybody that doesn't have this movie on DVD or what have you. Blu-ray, whatever. It's an old movie. But there's been calls for him to be completely taken out of the movie. Why? Just because people don't like him. The Trump derangement syndrome is in full effect. Anyway, I just wanted to share that. I'm going to end on that. So we got that, but hey, that's it. That's all I got for today. I appreciate you hanging out. If you like what you saw, hey, give me a follow. You can hit that like button. I would appreciate that. I do appreciate everybody hanging out, especially through my ramblings. I do ramble quite a bit. But you can follow me here. You can also subscribe to me on YouTube. Don't know why you would. Just go to Rumble. They got the lineup, starting at 9 a.m. all the way to 4 in the afternoon. Steven Crowder, Tim Pool, Jeremy from the Quartering. Just go to Rumble. That's where it's at. But anyway, you can also follow me on X at The Political Ray. Again, I appreciate you hanging out, and I hope everybody has a great day. God bless and take care of each other.